So hello, so let's start implementing iteration number 4 where we actually get the conversion done. We still need to do some work on the user interface. We need to add a text field so the user can enter the amount, add a button to indicate that let's start conversion, and add a label. So let's add those components first and finish the view, then we switch to the code. So for the text field in the object library, in the utility area, there is the text field component. So let's grab a text field a component or instance of the text field and add it to our app. I'm gonna adjust the size a little bit here. It's gonna be an amount, so it doesn't need that much width. Then in the properties of the text field, notice there's a text property, but there's also a placeholder property. The placeholder property is beautiful because it allows you to give the user some prompt for what that text field is for and what they need to do. And the moment the user clicks on the text field, that text disappears. Whereas the text represents the value of what is on the text field, so it doesn't disappear. So I'm going to add a placeholder to the text field, and I'm going to say enter an amount as a message to the user. And notice here it appears in gray as a placeholder. It's not an actual amount. There are different other properties for the text field, so you can choose the color of the text when the user types. That's the color of the text, the alignment of the text, the font, and all of that stuff. Then there is the clear button. The clear button is the X that appears next to a text field. You probably have seen it before. And you can choose different options. Make it always visible, appear while editing, or unless editing. I'm going to make it appear while editing, so if I need to delete something, I don't have to delete it character by character. I can just click the clear button. You can also choose an option to clear the text field once you begin editing, but I'm not going to do that because sometimes with numbers, you have 1200 and you just may want to make it 1210, so you don't want to type it again, so I'm not going to choose that. Then the capitalization, if you want to choose a specific capitalization for the text in the text field, if you want to enable the corrections or not, spell check, and then the keyboard. Keyboard is very important. The text field and the keyboard are interesting, and you can read more about it in the API documentation, and I showed that in I think the previous first iteration. The text field does not have a keyboard. The operating system owns the keyboard. When the text field needs a keyboard, it tells the operating system, I am ready for a keyboard. Give me a keyboard of this type. Then the operating system provides the keyboard. The keyboard stays there until the text field tells the operating system, I no longer need the keyboard. So the operating system takes back the keyboard. The adding the keyboard or attaching the keyboard is a default behavior that is implemented in the UI text field library. So you don't need to do anything for the keyboard to appear once you click on the text field. But to tell the operating system that you no longer need the keyboard is not a default behavior. So it is something we have to do in order to, whenever we need it. You can attach different types of keyboards. So these are different types of keyboards, and you may want to try them until you find the one that you want. So there is a decimal pad, there is a number and punctuation pad, there is the default one. So you can try any one of them that you want. So you can say, I want to get a decimal pad. And the return key on the keyboard, if it exists, what do you want it to say? So you can say done, you can say go. So I'm gonna say go because it's like means convert. The return key is not active by default. So to make the return key active, it is active and it generates an event and the operating system captures the event. But you have to inform the operating system if you want to receive that event in order to perform certain functions. And that is the last iteration of this project, is to respond to the enter key event on the keyboard. So that's the keyboard. We can actually see that in action before we proceed, because the display of the keyboard is a default behavior of the text field. So here is the text field, and here is the placeholder. And if you click on the text field, it will display a keyboard like that. And here is the decimal keyboard. So it's a keyboard that has numbers, and it has decimal point, and you can delete. And as you can see, the clear button shows the text is colored in blue. You can clear something and add different number and clear it again, or you can clear everything and go back to empty. And this decimal keyboard is beautiful, but it doesn't have a return key. But if you're using the simulator, I can hit enter on my computer keyboard and we can see that simulated. But if you want a keyboard that has a return key, then you can have another keyboard. So if you come here and change from a decimal pad to maybe the number, maybe number and punctuation, and see how this looked. You can try all of them and see what each keyboard look like and which one you would prefer for your application. So here is the number. So the number and punctuation has a decimal and has the go button. So maybe we can keep that. Although for a conversion, the other one looks better, and here is the go button. But the go button is not working because it actually generates the event, but nothing happens. The default behavior of the selection is there, but none of these events is programmed in our app, so this is why nothing is happening. So this is the first part. So I'm gonna keep this, and you see here, this is the suggestions of adding item here, and or the corrections, the default behavior here. And we can say no, we don't want any corrections. So no auto corrections will appear, because, and no spell check, because this is number pad, so I don't need a spell check. So the second part we want to add is a button. So here is the button right before the text field. So we add a button and align it. And I'm gonna name that button convert. If you go to the attributes, there is the title of the button. I'm gonna call it convert. And you can change the text color to whatever you want. You can change the size of the text. You can also, instead of convert, make an image and then upload that image. All what you need to do is to add the image to your project. So you go and say add files, and then choose the image file and add that image file to your project, and then you will see the image in the drop down here. So that's all the button. And then finally we need a label, and our label is here, so we add a label below. And I'm gonna give the label certain size here, and I don't want the text label, so I'm gonna delete the text label. So the label is empty by default, and perhaps I'm gonna give it that color. You can choose any other color. And the 17, I'll leave it this way. And so that's it for the label. So now all the components I need for the app are added to the storyboard. So the next step is to connect them to the controller. So we'll add the controller here. And we start by adding all our attributes. So all our properties, the outlets. So we start with the text field. Control, drag from the text field to the class variable. We're gonna make an outlet connection. The type is text field, and I'm gonna call it text amount. And then connect. Then we go to the button. Oh, the button is not gonna be an outlet, so I connected the second picker view, maybe the label first. So where is my label? Here is the label. Control and drag from the label. And then I'm gonna call it label result. Then the picker view, the first one is gonna represent the unit from. So this is gonna represent picker view unit from. And the second one is going to represent the unit 2. So I'm going to call it picker view unit 2. And then connect. So I connected all my components that need to be outlets, and an outlet connection is the connection that where you can exchange data between the interface and the controller. Then I want to add the function to do the conversion. You can add it anywhere. I'm just going to add it here at the end. So the convert button, control, and insert it, and then in the connection I'm going to choose an action connection. In the argument I don't want an argument, and when you choose none as argument, the type is no longer important, and then I'm going to call this the convert function. Then click connect. So now I have my convert function. So I am ready now to implement the conversion. So I added and built the interface, and I have my convert function. We are ready to do the conversion, and we'll do that in the next video.